بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي انحسرت الأوصاف عن كنه معرفته وردعت عظمته العقول فلم تجد مساغا إلى بلوغ غاية ملكوته، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله البشير النذير سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Praise be to Allah, who is such that it is not possible to describe the essence of knowing Him, and intellects have failed to understand the greatness of His glory. We greet the most select of all creation, the one who gave glad tidings and forewarned, our Prophet and his infallible family. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 24th night of our program for this blessed month of Ramadan from ICA. I pray that you all have had extremely benefiting and awakening nights of power, and pray that inshallah your a'mal, your fast, your prayers and your salats, everything are accepted before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are keeping safe and sound. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Have we not opened or expanded your chest and your heart, and lifted from you the burden which weighed down heavily on your back? Didn't we elevate your stature? Truly, with hardship there is ease. Truly, or indeed, with hardship there is ease. So, when you finish your task, exert yourself by submitting to your Lord. As usual, we start with a brief recap of last night's surah, Surah At-Teen. 2 nights, last night we returned to the Holy Quran, to what I call the textual Quran, because we took 2 nights of break talking about the living Quran, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi. I pointed out in our discussion that Surah At-Teen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of this surah, this chapter, takes 4 oaths. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ السِّينِينِ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينِ. We already have discussed various commentaries, opinions regarding whether these 4 oaths are purely symbolic, allegorical, or literal. It's not. I don't intend to go over them. However, one thing was clear, that the 4 oaths have every oath that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes in any of the chapters. There is a central theme, main theme, or a premise. that the oath somehow lays the intro or the preamble, so to speak, to get to the main theme or main premise. And in Surah At-Teen, it was no exception, where after the 4 oaths that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took or takes, came the main message or the main theme or main premise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that has become probably, as I indicated last night, one of the most talked about, both as far as commentary and also commented upon by Urafa and the mystic huge amount. And these were the two ayahs. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ. On the one hand, the potentiality that exists, humans can elevate themselves to the highest possible. As they say, sky is the limit. And yet, there is always the possibility that with this potential, if we don't submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and utilize this potential, we are susceptible to drop and the fall. So, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ, the dynamic interaction between the two, how that is happening, it's a huge kind of theme that people and commentators and Urafa have talked about it. The next passage, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ, expresses a theme or a concept which we have already heard and talked about and read in the previous chapters that we have covered during the previous nights. That the only way we can secure that higher elevation in Surah Al-Asr, it was put differently. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِلَّا أَدَاةِ إِسْتِثْنَاء. You are making an exception or separating what happens after from the previous verse. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ. Those who submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do good deeds become the one that have highest reward, which means you categorize, you go back, you put yourself or designate yourself in the first category. And the 4 golden rules, so to speak, in Surah Al-Asr: Al-Iman Billah, Al-Amal Al-Salih, Tawasaw Bil-Haq, Tawasaw Bil-Sabr, becomes a running theme between various chapters that we are going to cover. Then, the end of the chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directed our attention and somehow indirectly posing a question, pressing us to respond. With all these blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, what is it that is holding us back from accepting and somehow submitting to the command of Allah and taking it that the day of judgment is going to happen and question and accountability is going to be there? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just of all judges. This was briefly what we talked about last night in Surah At-Teen. Let's get back to Surah Al-Inshirah. أَلَمْ نَشْرَحْ لَكَ صَدْرَكَ وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَرَغْ. The surah is considered by most commentators to be a Makki surah. Again, we repeatedly point to the fact that structure, size of the surah, the theme, the central theme that it focuses upon clearly indicates that it is a Makki surah. There's, I believe, one opinion from Ibn Abbas that claims to be that it is a Madani surah. The name itself is gained or comes from the expansion of the chest, Sharh al-Sadr. in the first verse. We will get to it, inshallah. We explain what is this, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this expansion of the chest is intended to. The key, if we focus about the key concept, similar approach that we had about Surah At-Tin, the key concepts unpacked within this surah, we see that there are again three different issues, three key concepts talked about within the surah and presented. Verses 1 to 4 talks about the benefit or the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already made to the Holy Prophet. 5 and 6, the Prophet is consoled that as in the past, that every hardship contains within it ease, that principle is going to continue. And finally, 7 and 8 is once the responsibility of the mission, propagation of the mission is over, it doesn't mean that you pointing to the message is directed to the Holy Prophet. We can learn from it as well. Once the responsibility of propagating the message and the mission is complete and over, it doesn't mean that you have to sit down and relax. You still have to exert yourself and submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of that, the first four verses, the running theme in them about blessing and gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted to the Holy Prophet, it seems that it is somehow complementary to the chapter that inshallah tomorrow night we will discuss, and that's Surah Al-Duha. In Surah Al-Duha, أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى starts from there. And in this surah, أَلَمْ نَشْرَحْ لَكَ صَدْرَكَ, the same structure and this approach is outlined, which as a consequence, the scholars have claimed, the jurists have claimed, similar to Surah Al-Fil and Quraysh and La'ila for Quraysh, that there was a debate. These were one surah divided into two, and hence one could recite them after Surah Al-Hamd without saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In them, the same thing happens here, that the jurists have indicated that Surah Al-Inshirah and Surah Al-Duha can be read. And if you read them, you don't need to recite them, to recite Bismillah between them. They can be read as part of one single surah, as completion of Surah Al-Duha. That's the jurist opinion regarding this. Please check the fatwa of your marja regarding this particular issue. I don't want to say that all of them claim, but at least a number of people have. So if you want to make sure that your marja, the grand scholar that you follow, is of the opinion that you can recite both of these at the same time after Hamd, then refer to the Masail. Thematically, both chapters speak of the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted and provided to the Holy Prophet. A relief to the affliction and the difficulties and the challenges that he has faced in delivering the message and propagating Islam. With a slight difference that the blessing pertain more to the extra conditions in chapter number 93, while pertains more to the spiritual circumstances in this chapter. So Surah Al-Duha talks more about the external blessings that Allah has granted the Holy Prophet. In this chapter, Allah reminds the Holy Prophet of the spiritual gifts that he has received. And then the surah begins with another reminder. As I said, the structure of the questioning is almost identical. Alam yajidka, alam nashrah. Both of them are questioning that God has bestowed the Holy Prophet with a number of gifts and privileges. And then comes the reassurance after that every challenges, there is a hadith, I have recited this a couple of times, that this is from the Holy Prophet, مَا أَنَا نَبِيٌّ مِثْلِي قَطْ. Not a single prophet suffered as much as I have in delivering my message and the mission that I was given the responsibility to in any of the prophets before. Naturally, under the circumstance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to reassure the Holy Prophet that all these challenges, trials, tribulation, and the difficulties that he is going through in delivering the mission is not going to be forgotten. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reward. And the way the two chapters are structured clearly outlines few of them. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. What is the meaning of sharh? The expansion of the chest and contraction of it. In the Holy Quran, repeatedly we have verses that talk about this. When somebody's chest is opened, it's not referring to the physical chest. Here is more of referring to the soul, to the inner heart. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens that heart, opens that chest, opens that soul, and so that the person becomes a recipient of Allah's glory and Allah's mercy. We have in the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was told that he is the candidate to receive the prophethood and become responsible in guiding Pharaoh and Bani Israel out of their misery, the first thing that he asked, رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. O Lord, expand my chest. We get to it in a few minutes. Every leader, specifically prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to grant them, give them the mean by which they become suitable for the post. What Musa is asking is, give me those means. This is going to be a huge task that I have to endeavor. And I need those means to support me in this struggle. Rabbi shrah li sadri. O Lord, expand my chest. Make my affair easy. Untie the knot from my tongue. It is claimed historically that he had slight stutter, that he couldn't say words properly, but at least he's asking Allah to remove that, so that they may understand my speech. These are the tools that Prophet Musa is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant him so that he will succeed. There is another verse in An'am 125. فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرُهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. When the person is the right candidate for guidance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expands his soul and his or her inner heart, that they become recipient of the message. Month of Ramadan was supposed to be spent in a way that we ask Allah to expand our soul and our heart, to become the right candidate, to receive Allah's mercy. So whoever God wishes in the second one to guide, He expands their chest for submission. There is also Sharh al-Sadr in the Holy Quran in the negative sense. So when we combine all these, in the sense, one Sharh al-Sadr could be in ordinary people for inclination, tendency, it could be positive or negative. Yashrah sadruhu lil-Islam means tendency or inclination towards submission towards Allah. And in the verse Surah An-Nahl 106, وَلَكِنْ مَنْ شَرَحَ بِالْكُفْرِ صَدْرًا فَعَلَيْهِمْ غَضَبُ اللَّهِ. That it is possible that someone, due to the insistence that they want to remain sinful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is what you want, I'll give you whatever you want. I open your heart and your soul towards evilness. This is what we talked about in Surah An-Nas, min al-jannati wal-nas. Now humans becomes, or min al-shayateen al-jinn wal-ins, that human becomes shayateen. You ask for it. There is another verse in the Holy Quran that talks about these extremely wealthy individuals, that wealth becomes the lens for seeing things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will grant you whatever you want. But then, remember, there is questioning in the hereafter. So here, whoever God wishes will expand their soul and their heart, and whoever Allah wishes will lead them astray, He makes their heart and their soul contract. Expansion and contraction refers to one's essence of being, which is the soul or the heart. In our daily life, we have a metaphor that they say a true leader must have a big heart, or leadership requires a big heart. In essence, a person has to be patient, humble, fair, etc., etc. So when it comes to the Holy Prophet, or those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command them and select them to become the Prophet, they must possess these characteristics. We see repeatedly in the Holy Quran about the Holy Prophet, that the Holy Prophet had the humility which was necessary, the open heart which was necessary, the patience which was necessary, the fairness which was necessary. These are the means. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Alam nashrah laka sadrak, indeed we opened your heart, your inner heart, your soul, and we gave you the qualities, the attributes that you need to succeed in your message, in delivering the message, which are what? All the characteristics that you need: balance, fairness, patience, justice, etc., etc. All of these come under the category of Sharh al-Sadr. In another word, we gave you all the means that you need for your prophecy. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. Now, the verse goes, the four, I said 1 to 4, are part of reminding the Holy Prophet by Allah that these are gifts and blessings that we gave you. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ. What worried you, what concerned you, this weight of the responsibility that you have, that you're going to, the same thing with Prophet Musa, that asks Allah to yassir li amri. In here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we know of the pain that you are going through and how heavy of a load this is. أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ. Naqd means when the back, the bones creak due to huge weight. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. We removed some of that burden that your bones would have been creaking under that weight. Relieved you from some of that. And here, again, our scholars have gone into how did that happen? The role that Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi played in supporting the Holy Prophet. Some of the responsibility was removed from the Holy Prophet and the struggles were given. This is why in a hadith, the Holy Prophet refers to Ali as Wazir. Wazir literally means somebody that shares, takes some of the responsibility from the leader or whoever it is. So some of this responsibility was given, the protection of the Muslim community, defending the Muslim community, standing up for them, etc., etc. These are part of those responsibility that we talked about during the few nights. No one, leaving the Holy Prophet out, no one from the early Muslims sacrificed and worked as hard as Ali did for the development of Islam. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. This heavy weight, we removed it from your back. That, metaphorically speaking, would have had we put it on your back, it would have, your bones, as I said, metaphorically speaking, your bones would have been creaked from the weight of this responsibility. So for the success of the mission, we gave you all the means that you needed, and we removed some of the heavy responsibility from your shoulder, O Prophet, and allocated it to somebody else. Now, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. This is the last of the 4 verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as part of the gift for the Holy Prophet. O Prophet, remember, an unknown orphan from Quraysh, in Mecca, from tribe of Bani Hashim, reaches the stage where every time the name of Allah is mentioned, his name is immediately after. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. In Holy Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. That's the elevation. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he is reminding the Holy Prophet, because you persevered, because you faced the challenges. Yes, we gave you the mean. Because you faced the challenges, and we gave you the support that you needed for this mission to succeed, Allah elevated you. This is the last of the 4 gifts. Elevated your name. We see it again in the challenges that in one of the confrontation Muawiyah had with one of the followers, or at least friends of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, just listen to the sound of Mu'adhan. Every time God is being mentioned, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the orphan of Quraysh, comes after. How can I relax? So in here we have a number of ahadith, both from the Shia Sunni sources and the Sunni sources, talking about ahadith from the Holy Prophet, referring to this point of elevation. And Ibn Abbas, with regard to وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, this hadith from the Holy Prophet, قال لا يذكر الله عز وجل إلا وذكرت معه. This is a hadith from the Holy Prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time the name of Allah is being mentioned or affirmed on prayers, my name comes after it. Or Shafi'i in his book Al-Risala, قال لا أذكر إلا ذكرت معي. This is a hadith indirectly goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah tells the Holy Prophet, every time Allah's name is mentioned, your name will come after. This is the elevation. An unknown, as I said, orphan that lost his father, his mother, grandfather, an uncle, after all the pain and all the struggle that Quraysh and the Kuffar and Mushrikeen went to annihilate him within a short period of time. The center of idol worshipping Mecca has to call Allahu Akbar and then Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. This is the elevation that Quran is talking about. Then these 4 verses are over, reminding the Holy Prophet of the gifts that he received, finished. Then comes the main statement. Inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra. Some people have interpreted these verses as somehow ease and difficult and challenges or difficulties follow each other. Marhum Mutahari rahmatullah alayh, my old teacher, disagreed with this kind of interpretation. He said that usr intrinsically has within it the yusr, not comes after. Usr has within it. Without hardship, there is no ease. It's not as if they sequentially come after the other. Ease is within the heart of hardship. You really need to go through this hardship to open up and allow the potential for the ease to come out. So usr and yusr, they are somehow intertwined. Difficulties and challenges and so on. Hardship within it, not after it. We have seen during this difficult times that we are going through, people talk about constantly inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra, pointing that, well, when everything is finished, we're going to be at a sequence, something that comes after. This verse should not be interpreted that way. It is, we need to go through these challenges to understand who we are. Inshallah, one day, once I get a chance of what this coronavirus taught us about ourselves, one could spend weeks talking about it. It taught this arrogant society where they are in their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It taught us how far away from the principal values of Islam. I leave that there. It's within this hardship and difficulty that we understand, we begin to unfold and flourish. The seed of a walnut tree will not get the possibility of growing unless the shell cracks. Usr leads to the cracking of the shell, so that the inner heart, if we spend time looking after it, the inner heart, the inner spirit grows. Usr and yusr, ease and difficulty, they are intertwined. They are in the heart of each other. Hard work, hardship, sabr, patience, perseverance, all these bring out the hidden ease in them. There is a verse in the Holy Quran, وَكَأَيًّا مِّن نَبِيٍّ قَاتَلَ مَعَهُ رِبِّيُّونَ كَثِيرٌ فَمَا وَهَنُوا. Indeed, there have been many prophets with whom many men of God have fought along their side, but they did not lose heart for what they suffered in the way of Allah. Nor did they become weak, nor did they yield, but they remained patient, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would grant them amply for that stance. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Persevere. It's within that perseverance, within that challenges in life, that heart opens, spirit opens, and one begins to see the mercy of Allah and the light shining through. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi has in Nahj al-Balagha talks about this. وَلَقَدْ كُنَّا مَعَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ نُقَاتِلُ وَنَقْتُلُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَآبَاءَنَا وَأَعْمَامَنَا. Don't think that Islam was given to you on a silver plate or given to us on a silver plate. It was difficult times. We were tested during battles. We were confronted by our parents, our fathers, metaphorically, fathers, uncles, sons, and brothers, and so on, and we had to fight them. You are taking it easy. They sacrificed for it. It is due to that sacrifice, then victory comes. On the 8th year of Hijrah, Mecca, Abu Sufyan, Quraysh, they have to bow in submission to Allah even if it means on the paper. So these inna ma'al usri yusra, we really need to understand in more dynamic way. Not that usr has to finish, yusr to come. Every bit, every minute of the usr has yusr within it. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب. And once you have finished, your mission is accomplished, you have succeeded, don't just sit back and do nothing. Exert yourself harder and harder in submission to the command of Allah. Develop a plan. Go more for should supplicate once these worldly affairs are dealt with. One should never cease to strive in the way of Allah, no matter what. Nasaba means to prepare and to work hard. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. Once you finish with one responsibility, work harder in another responsibility, in another domain. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ. Be mindful of submission to the command of Allah. Now, we are almost getting to the end of the month of Ramadan. Some of us, including myself, we left our prayers during certain nights. Others, the more privileged ones, started hard work from the beginning of the month of Ramadan. It doesn't mean that by the end of the month everything is finished and we go back to the comfort zone that we were familiar with. This verse is telling us, even if we were successful, if we accomplish our goal during the month of Ramadan, doesn't mean that we have to somehow drop our guards and go back to the normal life. Shaitan is still there. And the bad habits, bad qualities are still there. We really need to struggle harder to get rid of them. Mission will not be completely accomplished until all these negative issues are removed. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we get closer to the end of month of Ramadan to really help us. In a lecture I had last night for a group of friends, I talked to them. We really need the approach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Marhum Mutari once said, is mistaken. Immediately during our prayers, we turn our face towards heaven and we have a long list of things that we want from God. Give me car, give me house, give me health, give me. Marhum Mutari said, before he gives you, he has to take certain things away. So the prayer has to start by, oh Lord, take some of the stuff away from me first. So long as there is envy in the heart, so long as I practice backbiting and slandering, so long as I lie habitually, I don't give people what belongs to them, Huququllah, Huquq nas, there is no tawbah, the heart is already full with junks. How on earth we want the light of Allah to come in? So let us start during whatever is left of this month by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove these all the negativity is possible, if possible, and at least some of them, which becomes helpful. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant all of you the health, and your prayers and fasting inshallah will be accepted. Please remember each other in the whatever is left of this month, literally around probably a week, or just probably under. Today is Sunday. Maktab Sayyid Fadlallah have already declared that next Sunday is Eid for them. So we have less than a week to go, and this opportunity should not be wasted. Let's pray at the same time for the well-being, safety, and health of those who worked so hard for the benefit of the community. May Allah reward them and protect them from all else. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.